Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Brandy. I'm always glad to bring you guys new content, and I know I have been updating frequently. And that's kind of unlike me because I usually don't do so many videos back to back like this, especially in the past couple of years. But it's always important for me to be clear with things. And now that I see that people are really starting to kind of pay attention and listen, it's good for me to be able to be consistent with you guys. So I appreciate all of your patience. I'm beyond ready to get into all the detail about the topic at hand. I know that it can seem a little mundane at times, and a lot of you guys that have been following me for a long time might know the things that I speak about, but I do appreciate your patience for those who don't know about it. It's good for things to be in order. So I just wanted to say that to start off here. So the topic at hand, I want to get straight into it. I know a few people had previously mentioned that with numbers, anything is possible, and that all the sevens that are attributed to Michael could be a coincidence. Of course, I can't say for certain that it's not a coincidence. I mean, I'm not saying that it's like fact that it's not a coincidence, but I think that it's highly unlikely. We all have numbers that are attributed to our lives, and 7 in particular, as I went over in the previous video, is just something that is a sequence in life in general. So it's not really necessarily directly at Michael, but it is clearly a thing with him. 7s are big when it comes to Michael. I wanted to mention a few other things that I noticed concerning Michael and 7s. Michael's death date, the day that he died, was June 25th. We all know that 2 plus 5 is 7. So that seems pretty simple. Okay, could be a coincidence. It's not the full day. It's just the 25th. So, of course, yeah, okay, that could be a coincidence. However, the rabbit hole definitely goes deeper with this one. Michael Jackson was born in 1958, and then he died in 2009. So it's clear that numerology is key in what we're supposed to be finding out with Michael, whether you believe in it or not. Numerology is actually a very big part of the Bible. Michael very clearly was very much into numerology. So I'll say this. I decided to kind of apply these numbers together to see what would happen with these two different years. If you add each single digit up with the dates 1958 and 2009, so if you go, 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 8 plus 2 plus 0 plus 0 plus 9, we get the number 34. Now, if we reduce that 3 and that 4 to a single digit, we get the number 7. I don't really see how that could be a coincidence. How it could be a coincidence that Michael's birth year was 1958, his death year was 2009, and somehow these numbers all together equal 7. This is what I'm talking about, guys. I think it's something that naysayers should consider and start really thinking about, because these things just cannot be a coincidence. It's crazy. So in the previous video, I spoke with you guys about the 7 years in the life cycle. I started off 7 years after Michael's birth, so basically at the end of the first 7-year cycle. This seems to be critical in the creation of Michael's musical legacy. The 7-year-old, Jackson 5 name being coined, that seemed very critical in his music legacy. But today I wanted to kind of rewind things back to the beginning of the cycle, back to when Michael Jackson was actually born. So we already discussed that Michael was born to the 7th of 9 pregnancies. Now she had 10 children. Marlon's twin died, but she had 9 pregnancies. Michael was the 7th of the 9th pregnancy. We also discussed there being 7 letters in both his first and last name. So Michael has 7 letters. Jackson has 7 letters. But what's interesting is his actual birth year. So when adding up the year 1958, if you do it in order, of course, it comes out to 23. If you do 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 8, we get 23, and we reduce that to 5. So, I mean, that's generally how numerology works. I know that it works in multiple different ways, but that seems to be the simplified version of it. Now, of course, nothing really comes of that. It didn't really mean anything to me. So I was kind of stumped when I added that. I was like, okay, what's a 5? So it kind of didn't really sit well with me. So looking at the year again, I decided to just add the 19 and the 58 together to see what would happen. When I added the 19 and the 58 together, I got 77. So, of course, if we reduce 77 down to a single digit, we get 7, because you get 7 plus 7 is 14. We know we just keep reducing. We keep reducing. So we get the number 7, but that just kind of, I don't know. It was just weird. It didn't really it's kind of hard to explain. It's like, it just didn't really make sense because of how the structure of numerology works. But that 77 definitely stuck out to me for some reason. It just kind of stuck to my gut. I will get back to that in a little bit, but that's just what it is. I know people will be like naysayers. They'll say, oh, you can't just change the sequence for your own benefit. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I felt during that time when I got that number. So moving right along, I want to talk about the year 1958 in general. This is very interesting stuff, guys. So grab your notebooks, your popcorn, whatever, and let's get into it. Curiosity definitely got the best of you, so I decided to do a little bit about what happened in the year, aside from the birth, of course, the world's best entertainer. So the first thing that I came across that was very interesting was the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. We all commonly know that as NASA. NASA was formally established on July 29th, 1958. This is, I believe, so this would be like a month before Michael's birth, exactly. The launching of NASA was provided a huge major shift in human history, not just American history. It's always been kind of shrouded in controversy. There's been so many things with NASA, but I thought that was a very incredibly interesting that happened like a month before Michael's birth, same year. Next on the list, we have, this is kind of a one-off thing, but I did find it to be very, very interesting. We have the Brussels World Fair. This is also known as the Expo 58. It began in April of 1958 in Belgium. Now, the main attraction of this fair was an oddly shaped building called the Atomium. So in 1950s, faith in scientific progress was great, and structure depicting atoms was chosen to embody this. The atomium depicts 9 iron atoms in the shape of a body-centered cubic unit, basically of iron and crystal, and this is magnified by 165 billion times. So it's just basically a picture projected into a building. Now, if you look at the inside of the structure where the escalator is, it's almost insane how much this resembles the Large Hadron Collider from CERN. Do you guys see that? I mean, it's weird to me because it was just really weird. When I did the comparison, it looks very similar to that. So that is very cool. This building will come into play later, but I did want to bring that up because, again, this is 1958, same year. So I wanted to kind of touch on that for a minute. Next, we have the microchip. Now, the integrated circuit, that's what they called it officially, the integrated circuit microchip, basically was an essential piece of technology used back then and even now. This was created during September of 1958 by Jack Kilby. Now, the creation of the integrated circuit led to much of today's technology, modern computers, electronics, everything. So the microchip is where it's at. This is how we got our technology. And it's crazy that would have been created in the year of 1958. This is like a big year for, things. So thought that was interesting too. That being said, this was the year that the very first computer was installed at CERN. Now we know that CERN is responsible for creating the World Wide Web. I thought it was very, very interesting that the year that we get the microchip is the year that CERN installs their very first computer. I keep calling it CERN. I mean CERN. I'm sorry. It's the first time they install their computer. So that's very, very, very fascinating. It's just interesting. It's fascinating that 1958 was such a year for space, innovation, and technology. The same year that Michael Jackson was born, and it seems that's what he became known for. He was very defined by these subjects. Michael was a pioneer. His name is always known for being associated with innovation, technology. These are the things that he used to catapult his entertainment legacy to new heights. So it's just crazy. Is it just another case of coincidence, or is something that we really need to start thinking about when it comes to Michael? Was Michael only destined for entertainment, or was there something much more to this? Because it's just strange that the year that he was born is all these like huge things that he was really known for being associated with just started. So that's just something to keep in mind. On that note, I would like to point something else out to you guys. So in the Holy Bible, in the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 13, he speaks of a conversation being held between two angels. Now in verse 13, it states, "Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, 'How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled?' The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes desolation, the surrender of the sanctuary, and the trampling underfoot of the Lord's people." And then in verse 14, we have, "He said to me, it will take 2,300 evenings and mornings. Then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated." What that means is the secret vision of Daniel, biblically and scientifically, testifies to the face of God with 77 numbers of Jesus, measured with 77 lunar moons, 77 generation of evenings and mornings on the day of creation. Now, I know that a lot of people were super pressed over the video that I posted in regards to Michael being Christ-like. I want to reiterate that I'm not of the opinion that Michael Jackson is akin to Jesus Christ. That's crazy. There's only one Jesus. I'm a Christian, and I very much am aware of that, believe in that. But I wanted to point out that there were similarities between Jesus Christ carrying the message of God and then trying to warn humanity and being crucified for it. Whereas Michael tried to do the same thing. He spoke about love and the earth and compassion and important to understanding God's message. And, he was pretty much just sacrificed, crucified with a pen. So, there have been a lot of people like that, not just Michael Jackson. There have been a lot of people who have been, crucified for trying to speak the truth. So I wasn't, again, making that comparison, saying that Michael is Jesus. I was never saying that. But I will say this. I wanted to point something out to you guys. This is very, very, very important for you guys to take notice of and just think about. I want to be very clear on this because this cannot be a coincidence. So we have a baby that is born in 1958, which we already know translates to the 77. We got that 77 from that birth year. We know that Michael Jackson, his name has the 77 because we have Michael, 7 letters, and we have Jackson that has 7 letters. That again could be 77. We have 2 sevens. Okay, so what did the angel say, guys? It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, and then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated. We already learned that 2,300 really translates to 77 lunar months. So in order for any of what I just said to make any sense, there would have to be a third 77 sequence associated with Michael. Remember, we have his birth year and his last name. So if 2,300 is 77 and that has to be associated with Michael, what's the first thing that pops into your mind, guys? Just think about it for a second. What's the first thing? 2,300. Okay, 2,300 Jackson Street. This is Michael Jackson's childhood home address. The house he was born in, the house that he was raised in, 2,300 Jackson Street. Okay, so you have Michael Jackson, first and last name, 77. Born 1958, 77. On 2,300 Jackson Street, 77. Guys, you guys have to understand something. This is not just the babbling and the talking of a conspiracy theorist or someone that's coming up with crazy ideas or someone that's trying to make Michael the second coming of Christ, that's trying to make him a Messiah. This has nothing to do with that. I am not putting religious views on anyone. That's not what I'm doing. I am speaking objectively. I'm speaking from facts. I'm speaking from things that I'm seeing, patterns that I'm finding. What you do with that information is completely up to you. But it's important to understand this was the first year of Michael's 7-year life cycle. This is his birth year. All of these things in technology. Michael it's crazy because it's like the moonwalker. He's considered the moonwalker because of his moonwalking dance. And he's, the night sky. We have Neverland that has the crescent moon, the boy in the sky. We'll get into all that later, but Michael is clearly obsessed with the idea of space and time. And we have NASA, the first year that he was born. Technology. This stuff is not a coincidence, guys. This stuff it embodies Michael. And the bigger question is why? What did this mean? Why was this the case? Why was this so important? Okay? We are going to get into all that. I am committed to this project, but you guys need to understand. Don't just think that I'm just babbling, I'm just talking because I'm crazy. No, I'm very objective. I'm not saying that anything is fact. I'm a Christian myself, but I'm not saying that you have to be a Christian or you have to believe my beliefs. Or I'm not even saying that Michael was a Christian. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that these are the things that are falling into place. So what I need for you guys to do, if you're not subscribed to me, you need to subscribe. You need to like this post, and you need to make sure you are enabling notifications of the video because I'm going to put these out as frequently as I can. Spread these videos, share them, comment. I want to hear your opinions. I do not post just rude insults, so don't bother because I won't post your comment. But if you have an opinion, I'm willing to talk about that. But just make sure you guys are understanding. It's time to understand this. If you want to understand Michael, what happened to him, what's going on, why this is happening to him now, it's time for you to understand the purpose of everything. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you for coming out today, and just being supportive like you guys always are. You're awesome. You rock. That's all for now, but I will be with the next video very, very soon. Okay, so keep watching. All right, have a good night. Bye.